Hey everyone, this is CW, and I'm back at it again with another deck profile for my Mekk-Knight Invoked. First, you must run 3 Alistair the Invokers. It's the main card in the deck, and it's what gets your engine going. Next are the Mekk-Knights. We have 3 purple, 2 blue, and 1 indigo. I find this ratio to be the best. I know some people play the yellow or the red, but I'm never finding myself where I have to go into a yellow or a red or search it with blue, because most of the time my deck is just focusing on OTKing and going second. Next are the hand traps. Play 2 Ash Blossom, 2 Ghost Ogre, 2 Droll and Lockbird, and 2 Effect Veiler. This is 8 hand traps, and I find running 2 of each hand trap is very good. It doesn't clog your hands, and a lot of times I have opening hands where I'll see a Droll, an Effect Veiler, and an Ogre, and a Meltdown, and it's perfect because I can stop my opponent 3 times. That's all for the monsters. Next are the spell cards. For the Invoked engine, I run 3 Invocation because I run Desires in the deck, 3 Magical Meltdown, and then since Terraforming is at 2, I run the 2 Terraforming. This is the most important engine in the deck, so you want to see it as soon as possible. And another reason for running 3 Invocation is I've faced quite a bit of Trick Stars, so when they reincarnation your hand, it's good to have more Invocations in your deck. Then next, I run 2 Scapegoat. I was actually running 2 Called by the Grave instead of the Scapegoat, but I decided to put these in instead because I feel like the deck needed another power play, and Called by the Grave actually wasn't helping me too much in my matchups because a lot of my games didn't last very long, so I just felt like I needed a little bit of defense in the deck. Next are the 2 Instant Fusion and 3 Mind Control. This pretty much makes the deck a 5 Mind Control deck because your Instant Fusion target is Thousand's Eye Restrict. And then we were discussing it earlier, 2 Potted Desires. I think 2 is the best ratio. When I run 3, I end up seeing multiples in my hand, and I just think 2 is great. I never see duplicates. And then for the last part, I run the Sky Striker engine, 3 Engage, 1 Widow Anchor, 1 Drone, and 1 Afterburner. I still think this engine's great in the deck because Drones is a 1-card Alistair link, and actually in a couple of my matchups, I was able to make my Alistair the Meltdown Invoker and have a set Widow Anchor, set Solemn Strike, and hand traps in my hand, and just stall my opponent if they make me go first. So it's good to have another negate in the deck. Alright, that's it for the main deck. It is 40 cards. I typically always run 40 because you want the best consistency in the deck. Alright, next is the extra deck. I'm going to start off with the power plays. You have Borreload and Borrelsword. Borrelsword being the card that I go into the most. I typically set up a Borrelsword with a Mekka and like a Mekk-Knight on the field and just OTK my opponent. I still keep Borreload in here because there's some situations where I run into where I need to get over a big monster, and that's why I have them in here. A lot of people say you should just run Borrelsword, but I just think Borreload's so good that it's just good to have them in the deck. Next is the 1 Nightmare card, Nightmare Phoenix. I don't run Unicorn because I run Decode instead. because sometimes Decode Talker can just get me the OTK. Sometimes I can set up a Decode Talker and 2 Mekka-Buzz, or just a Decode Talker, a Mekka-Buzz, and a Mekk-Knight on the field and OTK my opponent. I just run the Phoenix instead. I just found the Unicorn, I wasn't going into it as much. And then, of course, the 1 Kagari for your Hornet drones. And then Alistair the Invoker of Madness. He's your main Link 2 that you'll go into. That way you can Link climb and go into Boral Sword and set up a Mekka-Buzz. Next is the Link Karibo, Link Spider, and Proxy Dragon. This is mainly in here for Scapegoat. So it's a Scapegoat's a 1-card Borreload or Boral Sword. And also your Link Karibo can be used on your 1000 die restrict if you need to. Which, speaking of him, he's right here. So we'll run 1 of him. And then for the Invoked monsters, I run 3 Mekka-Buzz. I was only running 2, but I found myself where I needed a 3rd a lot of times, especially with how many combos I was going into and how many times I was using Invocation in 1 turn. I just found like I needed 3. And then for the last 2 is Ragin and Purgatrio. Of course, Ragin you can use as an instant fusion target. Purgatrio is good for OTK if you need to wipe a opponent to set up a U-Link on their field. And last of all, I'm actually going to go into the side deck for this. That way you can see it. First is 3 Gamma Seal. Very important card in the deck because sometimes you need this against Thunder Dragons. That way you can get over Colossus and get them off the field. Next is the MVP in the deck right now is Solemn Strike. Every time my opponent made me go first, I put this in, and I saw it every time and was able to use it. It actually caught a lot of people off guard, especially in one of my Altergeist matchups. So I just find it a great going first card, and people don't use it like they used to. Next is another great card that I decided to add in the side deck is Goes and Match. Another reason for if my opponent makes me go first, I can literally set up a Mekka-Buzz on the field and have Goes and Match, and a lot of times that locks out your opponent from doing anything, and you just attack them with Mekka-Buzz. And then for the, sorry. And then for the spell and trap removal, we have the 3 Mystical Space Typhoon. I like Mystical Space Typhoon a lot better because I don't like discarding with Twin Twister because a lot of times I need that card in my hand. And then for the last card in the side deck is 3 Called by the Grave. Like I was saying earlier, I put the Scapegoat in instead. I just decided to run this in the side deck because depending on the matchup, it's good to put in there. And then, of course, last for the deck are my token cards. This one being my favorite token card. Alright, that wraps it up for the deck profile. Next, I'm going to be coming with you with a tournament report for this deck. That way you can maybe even see some combos with the deck to better understand it. Thank you and happy holidays.